In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, my friends. This is Pinky.
And this is Priyanka.
And we're here to call out all things PakeAsPuck. Oh my god. My voice did that froggy thing. You know when you get like air and spit stuck in your throat and then you sound weird? I don't know if you've ever gotten that.
Yeah.
I've been terrified that would happen on stage.
That, and then when you're talking and you get like that little bit of post-nasal and you're like, oh my god. Ugh.
Yeah, you want to just throw up and they're just like, did you just throw up at me?
Yeah, like kind of.
A little bit. But so how was your week?
Week was good. I actually have a story. This might be a little bit heavy for a grind your gungie.
Okay.
But we can kind of tap into it, I guess. So I went to my parents for dinner.
Okay.
And it's been like kind of a rough day with the kids and everything. It's just a lot in the summer, which I have not been warned about. Kids in the summer are fucking feral.
What? I thought you knew. That's why I didn't really warn you. Because you've always had
this year's just different.
Yeah,
this year's just different. They're crazy. But we went to my mom's house for dinner.
Okay.
And they're just all over the place. There's Pani Puri, and the puri is like turning into crumbs. And I'm kind of just like, this is dinner. You eat here. Don't ask for more food later.
Right.
And this was also my opportunity to get caught up on other stuff. So I was just letting them do it. You know, I'm like, just eat here. And they do. They make a mess.
Right.
And the discomfort that I saw on my mom's face and my dad's face.
Because they were making a mess?
In a very like, they were nice about it, but I could see that they were very tense. And I also wasn't really saying anything because it was just my opportunity to like kind of sit back and like,
work.
Yeah, I'm like, let them make the mess. We'll clean it up afterwards. And they know to clean up after themselves after too.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, just eat.
Well, your parents are probably, Bob and Dada are probably like, we're going to have to clean this up.
Right. So it's just interesting to see. Because I was raised in a more like authoritarian, dictator-like.
Which we all were.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to see them with this more like, I'm not really passive, but I'm a little more like, I let them.
Well, you're a more relaxed parent. You're not hovering. You don't like.
I hated that, so I don't do it, right? And for them to see that, they were really bothered.
Yeah.
They were really bothered, and they kept saying like, "Nope, stop doing that. Sit down and eat here. This and that." And I was like, just. They know to stay in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I know they're not going to go out in the sofa. And if they did get out of line, I said something. But I just kind of let them eat. But they're probably like, why didn't you say anything?
Yeah, they wanted you to react faster. I've noticed Usha does that too. Like when the boys were younger, obviously not now. But when they were younger and she would come over and if I like set up like an activity for them, let's say painting or something, like she would get really like, oh, but they're going to make a mess. They're going to make a mess. And I'm like, okay, well, what happens when you make a mess? Like, I had to sit her down. I was like, what happens when you make a mess? She's like, somebody has to clean it up. I was like, okay, so who do you think is going to clean it up? She's like, me and you. I was like, no.
They're going to participate in that.
This is how we teach them that you have to clean up after you make messes. Because what you did obviously didn't work. You know, like... My brother
and they're not going to clean it perfectly. We know that.
No, but it's
we
learning.
lead by example, right?
Yeah.
That happened even earlier today. Like we have a sitter on Mondays and Tuesdays, and I put out some stuff so they could make like silly putty and stuff. I looked up like random Pinterest recipes. And I'm like, it'll be good for them to just do something. It was raining, whatever. Like here's something fun. And she's like, oh, we're not allowed to do this at our house. And I'm like, right. I respect that. That's your family's choice.
Right.
In my house, I allow it so long as it's in the kitchen where I can wipe it clean.
Yeah.
Like I don't want it over on the sofa. So I told her when I stepped out, I was like, you can do what you're comfortable with, but if you want to do a little experiment, this and that, just keep it in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I think you can contain them in that space.
Yeah.
And then, I got home. She tried her best to clean it up, and then I just kind of went over everything myself. But
yeah. It's hilarious watching.
We're just a little more... We're liberal.
More liberal. And, like, I grew up with liberal parents, but I'm still more liberal, right?
Yeah.
And a little bit more relaxed. We're not, like... I mean, there are parents our age that are not relaxed. Uber helicopter parents, hovering all the time. Like, I have a few in my in my husband's family, and I'm just like, what do you get out of this except stress? Like, I can visibly see you stressed out. Yeah. You can't sit still. You're up and down all the time. You're telling your child to be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful. I'm like, do you enjoy this life? You enjoy the life of constantly following your child around and being like, be careful, watch the curb, be careful, you could fall, be careful.
It's like the people that talk about, like, have you seen the reels?
Yeah.
Where they're Halloween.
Yeah.
Watch your step, make sure you say thank you.
Yeah. The traditional
moms are
things.
just like,
yeah.
they got their cardies on.
Yeah. And they're those Stanleys full of wine or whatever it is. Yeah. But it's true. Like, I'm just like, what do you get out of stressing out about this? You know, like, it's not helping you. I noticed the same thing. Like, I mean, not to the same level where, like, you know, it was kids involved and they were making a mess, but to the point where, like, the boomers get agitated. The boomers have certain things that they like our thing is, like, growing up, right? Whenever we would have parties at an auntie or uncle's house, we would all, if not me and my mom go to that auntie and uncle's house to help cook for the next day, we would bring something, right? Like, that's the exchange. At least it was where I grew up, right? Indians. And so it was either you go and help the day before, or whenever you can, you ask, when are you making certain things, and you go to help.
Like jambanu?
Yeah. Dinner for the party, kata, whatever. Or you bring something because you didn't have time to actually physically go, right?
Okay,
and so
fair.
for us, it's like, okay, well, 4th of July picnic, right? And so I asked my mother-in-law, I was like, Mom, do you and Dad want to come? I don't say, like, and like, this is how I say it that way specifically. I mean, do you and Dad want to come on Thursday to the 4th of July picnic? And I could see her thinking about certain things. I was like, no. I asked, do you and Dad want to come? It's a simple yes
Just
or no
answer the
question.
question.
And she's like, if the weather is nice. I was like, good job. Like, I
Yeah.
said, good job to her.
Good.
Because I didn't want her to worry. Like, she has no reason to worry about what we're going to bring, who's going to watch Dad, who's going to do this, whatever. When my father-in-law comes, I sit in front of him. Like, literally, his chair is there and my chair is here. And I'm literally like, don't fucking move. Because if we leave him unattended,
Yeah.
he goes and gets the food he's not supposed to eat. He goes and tries to drink copious amounts of beer. And, like, we give him 0-calorie beer here because we're like, we don't want to be, like, too much of a hard ass, but it's like, okay, well, you don't need alcohol.
Yeah.
You just need to feel like you're getting alcohol. So I'm like, no.
He wants a beverage.
And you know, ever since we got back, and we just got back Sunday, right? 10:30 p.m. we got back. He did not wait. Monday morning, as soon as I woke up, he was like, can you get beer? If you're going to go groceries, can you get beer? And then oranges? And then watermelon? And singdana? And, like,
He's already thinking about 4th of July?
No, he's just thinking about things that he wants to eat that he hasn't eaten.
Because he's been deprived of it?
Apparently. And I'm like, you're not deprived of it. We're rationing it out. Because I told my mother-in-law to do this. Like, so the singdana, it's peanuts. It's Indian peanuts.
Raising your parents.
It's ridiculous.
It's
Maybe
so
that's the
hard.
Granger countries, is raising your parents. It's
Is
ridiculous.
so hard.
Ridiculous. And so
My mom was going apeshit over the bungly colors.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh my
like,
God.
yo, Mom.
No one's standing like this.
Dark green.
Yeah, no one is standing like this, so you can see the two colors don't, like, exactly match. It's ridiculous. But she yesterday, so I asked her this yesterday, right? If she wants to come, her and Dad. And she's like, oh, well, what are we gonna bring? I was like, my husband, like, he already put it in the group chat what we're gonna bring. And our thing is, we just have to bring something, right?
Yeah.
So we're smart about it. We don't go through all of the work of making something like she did back in the day when they had picnics, because everybody would make something and bring something. And people do. There's like 3 or 4 families that marinate chicken, and we all just test out all the different chicken and whatever. But she doesn't know this because she hasn't been to recent picnics, right?
Yeah.
And so she's all like, she's like, oh, well, what are we gonna bring? You know, my older son, he has to work, so. And I was just like, why are you worried about your older son? That's what I said.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I'm not worried. I was like, but, like, why are you? I didn't ask you about him.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's no reason that you should be bringing him up. She's like, oh, my older son has to work, so he said he's gonna come after. I was like,
So what?
so who cares?
Right.
And then I was like, we got it figured out, right? Like, the point is, we just bring something. It does not have to be homemade, right?
Yeah.
So she comes up to me again today. I'm sitting and reading on the sofa, and she's like, what are we gonna, do we have to, we should make something tomorrow to bring to the 4th of July picnic. I was like, no, Mom, I already told you. We have
tomorrow
3.
the 4th?
No, on Thursday. I was like, no, we're gonna bring something. We have 3 things that we're bringing. And, like, yesterday I just said, oh, we're gonna bring a watermelon and a couple of other things. She doesn't need to know what we're bringing.
Right, but that's, like, stressing her out that she's
Yeah, and I'm like,
involved, yeah.
I'm like, why are you stressed out about this? Like, your time has passed. Your time came. You did it, and now
She
it's
might be
past.
having a hard time, like, just relinquishing that control.
Yeah, it is. It's a control thing for her. And so she's going to ask me again tomorrow. And then she's going to ask me again on Thursday.
But flip the switch. What do you want to take?
No, but here's the thing. If I ask her and I flip the script, she's going to say she wants to take this asinine dish that takes 5 hours to make. Now, what does that involve? Me in the kitchen
You
for 5
doing
hours.
it.
I'm not fucking doing that. I'm
Right,
not
right,
doing
right,
that. You know, and I know it's like, well, but I know myself. I would look at her and be like, Mom, you can make whatever you want to make, but I will not help you.
Oh, yeah.
And because that's what will determine if she makes it or not. Like, you can't, just because you want to do something, like, there's a lot of things that I want to do. But if I'm incapable of doing them from 0 to 100 to completion, I then think, should I or shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Because I never want to rely on other people to help me to do what I want to do.
Our mother-in-laws are so different. Like, before ladies' night, I had this, like, whole plan of, like, what I was going to make and bring over. I was, like, going through that list, and I was like, oh, I can make this and, like, chip it in. And then shit just kept happening that day, and my mother-in-law was just like, you can buy stuff to take.
You can buy stuff.
Yeah, and so...
They still need dishes. They still need tables.
Yeah, she's
they
like,
still
it's
need
okay.
toilet paper. Yeah.
But she's very much like let's just take a step back. They
I love
have
that.
party platters. And I was like, you're right. And so when Neil and his dad were going to the store, she asked them to pick it up. And she's like, just get something that she can pass out.
Yeah,
and
like,
you know, oh, thanks, Ma.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, when it comes to a party, she's so tunnel vision with things. Like, whenever we have parties at the house, she always wants to make something. And I'm like, I understand that you like feeding people. However,
My mom is like that, though.
No,
My
I
mom,
can't.
anytime we have people over, she's, at least growing up, she was going apeshit in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Making, you have to have 2 vegetable shaks, and then 1 kathor, and then you have puri, and you have
as if
rotli, and then
right.
you have rice, and dal or curry or something, and then you have to have a sweet option. And she would make it all, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, the food...
But it was exhausting.
Right.
I learned from her. No.
As an adult, I actually liked the food. As a kid, I was so sick of it.
Yeah, because we had it all the time.
All the time. And as an adult, too, I look back and I was like, yo, you went nuts cooking that much food. Like, no wonder you were strung out all the time.
Every time. And from watching my mom be strung out all the time, that's why I am the way I am when it comes to party planning.
We order, we put out the trays.
Yeah.
And make it easy on
like
ourselves.
I've perfected a few dishes that I can like make the day before so it's not stressful. But like she doesn't understand this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, and she did it for roommate number 3's 10th birthday. Everybody's outside in the backyard and she's in the kitchen making this fucking bhajias.
There's some things that you can make at home and it's like easy to like put out.
Right.
But like cooking, it's a lot.
Like she's making bhajias because why? Because her older son likes them. I'm like, I thought this was a party for my younger son, not your older son. And then what happens? Because she's in the kitchen, everybody comes to wash their hands or go to the bathroom, and they see her milling around in the kitchen. Because I told her, and I told her, I was like, me and Mutben, sister-in-law, are not going to help you because we're outside. Because the kid, my 10-year-old, and dad were at a baseball game. Like I was doing setup by myself. And I was like, I don't have time for this bullshit right now.
Yeah, like you kind of
and everybody's asking,
problem.
and everybody kept asking who was coming. Oh, Auntie, do you want help? Do you want help? And I'm like, this is why you did this. It wasn't because you wanted to feed the masses. It was because you wanted the attention.
Nobody's ready
from
to hear
people.
that though.
Yeah, and I told her that. No, I told her that even if she wasn't ready to hear it.
Yeah.
I was like, we're not doing this again. So now when we have parties, like Christmas Eve party, when we have the graduation party, I straight up looked at her. I was like, we're not doing that damal. We're not doing that.
No.
We don't have time for that, and you can't wash your own dishes.
Quite honestly, if you're going to make a dish to provide at a party, I think it's best to have it done the day before.
Yeah.
And at best, you're just assembling it in the morning. I don't want the kitchen dirty the morning of.
Because it takes forever to clean the fucking kitchen.
Yeah, it's too much.
And it's already going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
And so she continues though today, right? She's like standing on the landing, like looking over, and she's all like, "Whoa. What are we going to take? We have to make something, don't we?" I was like, we're bringing something. So I kept saying, we have to bring something to contribute. But she wasn't understanding what I was saying. I was like, we have 3 things we're bringing, Mom. We're going to bring,
Did you tell her what you're taking?
Yeah, I was like, we're going to bring stuff. And she's like, yeah, you asked me why I was talking about my older son yesterday, but that's because he always makes chicken and brings it to barbecue. I was like, Mom, do you know how many families bring chicken to barbecue? Your son is not the only one. Like, she thinks that her son is this, oh my God, because he always brings the chicken, and everybody always likes the chicken. And I'm like...
He does man the grill pretty well, though. Like, that's his role.
Because he doesn't like other people manning the grill.
Yeah, he kind of...
Like, he doesn't know how to share space.
Yeah.
And he likes it run his way, and, like, everybody brings their own grill. It's a debacle.
Oh, really? They bring their own grills?
I'm going to take video and post it. It's
like a competition.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what, like... Okay,
he stood by the grill at the last party.
Yeah.
He stayed that's his territory. He's got his boys there.
Because he's socially awkward and he doesn't know how to talk to people.
The grill helps him feel safe.
Right. And so it's like, you want to do this, that's fine. But like, don't try to tell your mom that you're the only one that marinates chicken for picnics. Yeah. Like, and so once I told her that, she kept standing there like, and I was like, no, we are bringing stuff. Everybody has to bring stuff, and we are bringing stuff. And she just kept like,
tense, and thank you.
She was so tense. And I just went back to reading my book. I was like, I answered your fucking question. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not. Like, I just got back from 2 weeks of heavy travel where it only had barely a day and a half between the two trips. And then the last trip, everybody was fucking with me. So it wasn't a work trip. It was like a family vacation and a work trip together, which that's our hot take. We're going into it next. So I have a hot take, and I know this is going to ruffle feathers, and it has nothing to do with our geriatrics and boomer parents and all that stuff. All right, come on, man. There's not enough space.
Her dog.
Yeah, anyways. So my hot take is, if a mom has to go on a work trip, it is impossible to turn that work trip into also a family vacation.
Yeah.
When it's the other way around, that can work 100%.
Because you do everything.
Right. Because this stemming from recently we were at VidCon, and, you know, with certain situations of life, I was like, let's try to save a little bit of money and do this as a family vacation. Because VidCon paid for my hotel, they paid for my flight, and they paid for...
Your assistant.
No. I had to pay for assistant and the 3 boys. Okay. But I paid for the assistant. Our frequent flyer, because I fly so much, paid for them, which we only had to pay $32 in taxes. So it's like, okay, at least my money came back. Yeah. It's useful, right? And then they also paid for all their badges. So I got 4...
Oh, so they got entry.
I got full access badges for them. So they were able to be my entourage wherever I was going, stuff like that. But the thing is, so that part was good, right? Because I feel like we scored big, because going to California, Anaheim is expensive in itself, right? Did we go to Disneyland? No, we're not Disneyland people. Did we go to... Oh, we did go to Huntington Beach, because it was like 7 or 8 miles away on Saturday, because we had time. And I had an event, like, I had to be there at a certain time every day. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I had to be there at a certain time.
Like, you're doing appearances.
Right. So, like, the first day, Wednesday, I was on a panel, Ladies in Comedy. So they were asking questions, I was on stage, whatever. And then Friday, I had a meet and greet, which I know how to do. Not a big deal, right? I do meet and greets all the time. But you're expected to show up on time, be professional. Right. And then Saturday, it was VidCon After Dark, so that was from 7 to 9. Like, again, I had like a 20-minute portion with other content creators where, like, they would post videos, like, they would show videos and we would react to them, like, live react.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, like what I do anyways, right? So it was all fun. And then Friday night, what they did was they shut the exhibit hall down for general population. And they had it only open for featured creators, anybody with a yellow badge, which is what we had. Mm-hmm. Because they were telling me the first day we got there, they're like, you can't walk on the exhibit floor without security. And I was like, excuse me, what? Like, me and Ravina looked at each other like, are you crazy? I travel this country.
Like, I'm the security.
Like, I've been traveling nationwide, this country and Canada, for the past almost 3 years with no I was like, she's my security. I don't need a big burly man in a black suit.
Why did they say that, though?
Because apparently, because this is a video convention, so all content creators come to this convention as featured creators. Mm-hmm. And the people, the consumers, they go a little crazy because they fangirl. Okay. And so they're like, we don't want you to get mauled. We don't know what the reception's going to be. So the basic rule is any featured creator has to have security if they want to go on the exhibit floor.
Well, you didn't know that beforehand. I would have suited up. Shit.
Exactly, right? And so, like, we were just, like, shocked. Like, it was funny to me and Ravina because of all the traveling we do, right?
Yeah.
But we realized that because there was a little bit of time on one of the days, and I was like, oh, let's go to where all the food trucks are, because we all love food trucks. There's all different kinds. And also, I wanted them to see the environment of what all the consumers, the spectators, were coming for, right? Yeah. And so we got to go, and yes, did I get stopped a couple times? Absolutely.
But that happens everywhere.
Right, that happens like all the time.
She gets stopped at least all the times that we've hung out on a trip.
Yes.
At least twice she's been recognized.
Right, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be an asshole. Like, I'm here because of you guys. So,
right.
like, you know, I'm very nice and whatever. I make conversation. Yeah. I ask people. I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. You know, I'm the one offering pictures half the times. But it was just weird that they were like, you have job security, whatever. And so we're doing all of this, right? And you would think because I did all of this to get the vacation ready, like, meals, Dad would think about when the kids should eat. Because I told him, the first time that he came on a work trip with me, it was here in Indiana I had a show, or Wisconsin, Appleton. He's like, oh, it's close, we want to come. I was like, okay, cool, come. He didn't do shit. He waited until after the show, which I had a 7 o'clock show, after the show, to be like, oh, what are we going to have for dinner? I was like, excuse me, what?
When I travel with you, the reservation's made, like, before your 10-minute marker is up. Like, I know when your set's almost done and the reservations are already made for dinner afterwards.
Because me and Ravina talk about it, right? We, like, figure that stuff out. And Ravina was staying with a friend, so I was like, okay, fine. I thought he would pick up what I wasn't able to, what I had to put down because I had to go and perform. Yeah. But he did not want to do that, and then he's getting annoyed with me because I'm hungry too now. Mind you, I hadn't eaten all day.
The last thing you want to do is have to make another decision.
Right, and constant, like, and I told him, I was like, I did not like that. Like, if you don't want to, like, he wants to come to my shows, he wants to enjoy the work perks without the work. And when he wants to decide what he gets to work on during working hours. I'm like, you don't know where the help is needed. I know.
He was capturing content.
At that moment, it was too soon, so he wasn't. But during this trip, he was capturing content, which I absolutely.
Because that's like his one thing to me is make sure you get pictures, right? So I think that's where he feels most valuable.
And that's fine. Like he was doing that, right? But also, okay, so that was your job during, right? Mm-hmm. So now afterwards, like when we're just in the hotel room, how come I've never heard you say, what are we going to have for food? How come I've never seen you go on your phone and go into Google Maps and be like, food places near us at walking? Like,
what's good around me?
Right, like never made any of those decisions. He still waited for, and it was just so irritating. And I'm just like, luckily my kids are not little like yours are.
You never got to like put your brain on standby.
Right, so I was basically, from the moment I left for my shows, my last 3 shows that I did for that tour, and then I had a day and a half to pack, which I had to switch everything out, right? Because I needed at least minimum 2 to 3 outfits per day. So one was like a during the day outfit, the second was like for the event outfit, and then the third was if we had a chance to go back to the room and change because.
Or you get sweaty and you need a backup.
Right, like I don't want to be gross, you know?
Right.
And then also I'm like tired because you're walking a lot. We've been to conventions, work conventions and stuff, so you know how much walking it is. Yeah. And because I know the back, like the behind the scenes, I can appreciate the front of house a little bit more, you know? But I just felt like, I was just like, why am I having to do everything and make all the decisions?
We had a similar conversation about this. Where were you going? And it was like the passport fiasco. You had to fill out. She's so bad. I'm so sorry I brought it.
Bro, oh my God. It was the Dominican Republic last year.
Filling out all the custom paperwork.
Oh my God. It was almost a year ago. You don't understand. This is the 1-year anniversary. So last year, every year, they don't know, but every year we go to Connecticut for 4th of July.
This is the week.
This is the week. And this year, we're not going just because it was too much. It's just too much to handle. And it was too much travel. And I was like, I cannot do it back to back to back because the next week we have to go to Iowa for baseball. Yeah. I was like, I'm done. I can't. And then my brother's also like, he doesn't think he was going to do 4th of July. So I was like, okay, then we're not going to come, right? And so, last year, we're there for 4th of July. And the next day, I already know. The next day, everybody's just hungover and tired. So, but then the next day is my birthday, so I get gypped on that, right? Because everybody's tired, no one wants to do anything. So what do? I make plans with my best friend, Han, because I don't get to see her, right? Like when I go to Connecticut is when I get to see her. I'm kind of sad I won't get to see her Friday, because she knows the day after 4th of July, we always, or like, 1 or 2 days after. And then we're fucking going to the Dominican Republic. First of all, doesn't tell us the right time that we're leaving. So we leave late. So, and my brother's hungover, so now I have to drive his fucking truck. I'm driving this, like, I don't know what it is, F-150, some bullshit truck that I'm, like, not equipped with. I'm this tiny brown Indian woman in this big-ass black pickup truck. I was like, what the fuck is happening? Because, you know, I was like, all right, fine. And because I know the roads, I don't want my husband to drive because he doesn't know the roads. And, he, like, it's a big car.
Hungover.
Yeah, and so I'm driving there, and I'm like, did you fill everything out? Did you do, like, why am I having to remind you of this shit? You're the one that planned this trip, so therefore you should plan it from A to Z. Yeah. Like, I planned... And that was last year. I was like, we were all like, everybody was irritated.
It's that mental load. It's like, what are you doing to take off of my plate? Are you at all mindful of how much is on my plate, and what are you doing to alleviate that? Like, and be a somewhat equal partnership is tough, right. But like, how are you trying to balance?
Right, and like the first day, Wednesday, we're at the airport, right? And I'm working on reels, right, to get it done. And I was like, I'll upload if I can, whatever, right? I just wanted to get work done because I want to use downtime for work, right?
You're actually really good about that.
I'm trying to be better. Yeah. Definitely trying to be better, right? So I'm sitting there on the floor at Midway, working. He takes roommate number 3 to go walk around because he's getting antsy. He's a nervous flyer. I was like, oh my God. So he comes back with, like, roommate number 3 is holding Fanta. Husband's holding 2 things of Sprite. And I was like, where's mine? I was like, where's mine? And he's like, oh, I didn't know what you want. He's like, oh, I didn't know what you want. I was like, motherfucker, I've been drinking Diet Coke.
Text you?
Yes! I drink Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi. And the only time I drink Sprite is if I don't want the caffeine. And even then it's Diet Sprite. So any of the diets would have been okay. Like, you can't remember these 3 things, fucking, and you want me to remember your Taco Bell order? I put it in the fucking comment section of your contacts. Like, it's in the notes if you don't remember. But you couldn't remember Diet Pepsi or Diet Coke. I was so irritated, and you couldn't text. You had your fucking phone. You knew I had my fucking phone. And even if I didn't, you could have texted Bravina, who's sitting fucking next to me.
I had a very similar fight once upon a time.
He saw nothing wrong with that.
Oh, that's so frustrating.
But yeah, when I make the strawberry parfaits, and I don't ask him if he wants one, he gets butthurt. And then, what are you eating over there? You don't have any for me? I'm like, you don't fucking like strawberries.
I don't make dry too often in the morning. It's more of like a treat. Like, oh, it's been an easy morning. Let's go. We have fresh ginger in the house, whatever. So I'll make dry. And I always make extra, 1 cup for me. And I'll take a cup up to my husband. Because he works from home. And
don't even get me started on that.
And we got into it one time. I was probably at week 3 of my cycle, too, because I was pissed. I was like, did it ever occur to you
it didn't.
That, hey, my wife comes downstairs looking pretty homeless. Let me make her a cup of coffee. And he's like, well, I don't know how to make it like how you make it. I'm like...
So fucking learn.
But, like, we have an espresso pod. Even if it doesn't taste that great, it would be nice if you just be like, here, babe, I made you some coffee.
Yeah, never.
Right?
Never.
And so we thought about that, and then it got really awkward because he heard me. And then he'd be like extra attentive.
No.
And it was just, it wasn't that uncomfortable. I'm like, ew. Like, stop asking me.
The same thing happened. Like, when he would be working from home on the weekends and I would be home, I would bring him up lunch. I would be like, hey, do you want a snack?
Because you always, like, are considerate of everybody that lives there.
Right, but then when we started working from home for COVID, he never came down or even texted and said, hey, I made sandwiches. Why don't you come up? I made you a sandwich.
No, he just gets it for himself and goes.
Right.
And I say he because I've dealt with the same thing.
Yeah, but that's okay. But yeah, me making something just for myself. So now what do? I just make shit for myself.
Even if I don't, like, make something for all of us, I still naturally, I'm not even doing it on purpose, but I tend to check in with, like, hey, I didn't get the chance to make anything. You good to just fend for yourself for today? Because I'm, like, rushing to get something or another done, right? Like, I still check in.
Yeah, no.
And I usually don't get that.
No.
And one day, I let it fester, and it got to me, and it turned into a fight, and it was bad.
No, but the fact that, like, they don't even think about that, and, like...
They don't.
And, like, this last year...
It hasn't been taught.
Right. Because his fucking mother catered to everything that he wanted.
I see my middle one do this a lot. He's like, no, get it for me. I'm like, you got feet?
Yeah, my mother-in-law hates it when I tell them to get their own stuff. Like, she sees that I'm hands-off.
I'm constantly saying... What can you do to help yourself?
Yeah.
What can you do to help yourself?
Right.
My hands are tied at this moment. What can you do to help yourself? I have to keep saying it because I think it will stick.
Yeah.
But every now and then, I do see that my daughter it might be slightly, you know, nature versus nurture to some degree, because she's just like, I'll do it, it's okay. And I'm like, no, you don't have to do it. And I have to correct her and stop her. And she's like, it's just easier, so she'll just do it.
Yeah.
But I don't want her to think that
No.
she has to.
No.
Right? And that sucks.
That's
I was like,
good.
no, stop.
Yes.
This is his responsibility.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can walk away.
Yeah, no, you need to nip that in the bud, because then it's going to become habitual for her, and she's going to constantly do that with other people. The people pleaser. And it's not that you don't want to please people, but bitch, I've been doing it for 19 years.
I think to
and
some
it was
degree,
not reciprocated.
Right. Like, I don't think I've pushed that on her. To some degree, I do think that that's a little bit her personality coming out.
Yeah.
But I want to reiterate, just like how I tell you not to say sorry about everything.
Correct.
Right? Like, I'm just like, you don't have to do it. Just stop. I will get them to do it. We're gonna have to be a little patient with these guys, but we're gonna have. We need them to do it.
Because we have to teach them to be better. We have to teach them to not be, you know, like you don't want your daughter to become a doormat because she's a people pleaser.
Fuck no.
Right?
She'd be the worst, man.
Exactly.
I just know she's gonna get her heart broken.
Right, and nobody wants that, right? And like, and I know, like, it was just so many little things that compounded into just like, I just want to go home and I want to be in my own bed and I don't want to be here anymore. Like,
you wanted to turn your brain off.
Right, because I didn't get to. Like, when I'm traveling for work, I get to turn my brain off and relax in the hotel room for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, Ravina has never pressured me into doing anything that I haven't wanted to.
You
and
basically
vice
had
versa.
multiple shows every single day. Even though you weren't performing, you
but I was still on a stage.
And so, if you know how she is, she needs, like, the day of, like, she goes without food. She's just
like, and I didn't know where the bathrooms were there.
Yeah.
So because being in a convention hall,
you like it quiet.
Yes.
You kind of go without food, and you just need to have your earbuds in and zone out for a while. And you barely got to do any of that because you were just working, like, a triple shift.
Right, and it was just like, but the fact that he couldn't, like, pick that up, and, you know, Ravina was trying to be really good, like, so she would kind of...
All
five
of us were in one room.
Well, we had, like, a kid's suite.
Okay.
So we had, like, 2 separate bedrooms.
A little bit of extra space, yeah.
Yeah, we had space for all 5 of us.
I was gonna say, that must have been really hard, like, just switching around with a futon, too.
No. So we had, the third one was in a rollaway bed, and we just put extra comforters, because he was the smallest, so, buddy, I'm sorry, you're the smallest, you have to sleep in the smallest bed. And he was right next to the window. Like, there was enough space. Yeah. The space wasn't an issue. Everybody had their own beds to sleep in. Nobody had to share except me and Dad, obviously.
That's
no-brainer.
Okay. Yeah.
But the thing was, like, we all had to share a bathroom, which we're not used to because we have the 2.5 bathrooms here, right? And when you add more people in, like, me and Ravina are pretty good, but then you add 3 other people, and it's like...
all that shower time, the mess that comes with it.
And it was just one thing. So
everyone taking a shit, and it's just steamy in the room. I hate that shit.
Yeah. And I told him, me and Ravina both, we were like, you have to spray the purple one first, poop, and then spray the purple one again, and then flush, and then spray the white one in the air.
Oh my god!
Because I have a small air freshener too.
Oh my god.
But so the moral of the story, the hot take, is no, we cannot combine work trip and family vacation when mom is the one that has to work.
Even if it's sponsored.
Even if it's sponsored, because if the roles were reversed, he would have been fine. He would have been fine working, because I would have been like, oh, let's give Dad some time, let's go outside. Like, he didn't want to do anything by himself with the kids. Like, after one of the events, I think it was Wednesday, it was earlier, it was like from 3 to 4. Mm-hmm. So afterwards, I was like, oh, why don't you, like, we had, my brand agency had a happy hour, and, like, I'm going to network with other creators.
Right. That's still work.
Like, I still have to put a face on, I still have to smile, I still have to be polite, I can't have RBF, I have to be approachable, stuff like that. Yeah. Like, I can't just be in my little hidey hole, right? And he was just like, there was time, and, you know, that Wednesdays when they told us that I couldn't walk the floor until the time that they had slotted for us, which was Friday night. And so he saw that there was time, and we were just going to the happy hour at the hotel. And then my older son and Ravina, they went to go to an Avatar panel because I was like, whatever. Yeah. I was like, go enjoy. That's why you're here. Like, I don't expect, you know how to get the shuttle back. Yeah. Make sure you have your badge and your wristband, because you needed both. You couldn't just come in with one or the other. Like, you know how it's run. And you know, they're both older. They're 18 and, Ravenna. So I was like, I'm not worried.
18 and Ravenna.
I don't know. 28? No, I don't know. And so, but then I was like, when we're leaving, me, my brand agent, my manager, to go to the happy hour, I'm like, why don't you guys, I look at my husband and my younger son, I was like, why don't you guys go on the exhibit hall just to check it out? Mm-hmm. And so they did. And I was like, finally. Like,
I had to spoon feed that.
Yeah. I was like, why do I have to spoon feed everything for you?
I don't know.
I don't get it. No more combining. No more. We're done.
Are we wrapping it?
We're done. Go ahead.
I'm glad you got that out of your system.
Finish it up.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. We hope that today's conversation brought to light some things that are fake as fuck. If you have any
comments,
topic
questions,
suggestions, anything, blah blah blah,
all
leave it down below. We'll catch you next one.